Natural selection, I told you it's an invisible thing, and that's why we criticized yesterday Darwin that it creates nothing and you're giving too much importance to it. Two populations and geographical isolation came, so they are isolated for long period of time. Two new species have come. So there is a population, and there is some barrier that is there, some mountain or something that is there. They have the scope to cross this barrier. Some of the population, one group C will go to the other side of the barrier, and they have settled there and isolated for long time, and then they give rise to two different species. So if you see from the side, you have one part, and you can see the skull is clubbed with different bones. You can see the sutures here. This is the top view, and to the back you have one, to the front you have one, to the side you have one. The side one, this part of that is called as temporal bone. The front part, frontal. Front part is frontal. Back part is occipital, and these are called as parietal. So in the hand, what you have here at the joint, those are known as carpals, which is not visible to us. These are called as metacarpals. And the fingers that we have, bones, are called as phalanges. The path to understand humans runs through the forests of primates. So he meant to say that it is very important. It is very important for us to understand the primates if we have to understand ourselves. So natural selection, I told you it's an invisible thing. And that's why we criticized yesterday Darwin that it creates nothing and you're giving too much importance to it. So it is an invisible force choosing something useful. Where is the useful coming from? Where is the useful coming from? Useful or harmful, where is it coming from? Then you have the answer, right? So is it before or after then? Right. So today, first I'll give you the explanation of two types of speciation. One is sympatric speciation and quantum speciation. Right. Yesterday we were reading different types of speciation, right? First we have read allopatric speciation. What do you mean by allopatric speciation? You have five types: allopatric, peripatric, parapatric, sympatric, and quantum. So yesterday we have seen two things, right? What we have said, that there are two populations, and suppose a river has developed, some geographical isolation has been developed, right? So two populations and geographical isolation came, so they are isolated for long period of time. Two new species have come. That is allopatric speciation. And the second one, peripatric. So yesterday we saw parapatric, but peripatric. So there is a population. Okay, and there is some barrier that is there, some mountain or something that is there, but they have the scope to cross this barrier. So this population, some of the population, suppose A, B, C are present, C, D groups are present. One group C will go to the other side of the barrier, and they have settled there and isolated for long time, and then they give rise to two different species. That is peripatric. Parapatric means there is no proper isolation as such. Okay, there is no much bigger boundaries between them. So these two populations, group A group A, group B. Okay, so here these two do not have separation, rather they interact in this space. Okay, so they can meet also, they can come in contact with each other also, but because of different adaptation to the environment, because this might be cold area completely, this might be hottest area, though they belong to same population in the beginning, now these two groups settled over there and they got adapted to new environments, and now though they interact, but they cannot interbreed and give rise to new population altogether, right? And then you have sympatric and quantum. So if you read from the book, sympatric, you don't understand anything because it sounds so difficult. So sympatric is evolution of new species from a common ancestor without geographical isolation. Without geographical isolation, but there are factors. One, driven by ecological, other is behavioral, third is genetic barriers within the same habitat. That means, suppose ecological niche, if it is partitioned, two things depend upon two different kinds of food, and if they are dependent upon two different kinds of food, and they are habituated to that kind of specificity, over a period of time they both don't mate with each other and give rise to new species. And genetic barriers. Okay, what is the genetic barrier? Suppose there are two sets of chromosomes, and what happens is that we will be learning in chromosomal aberrations. A new set of chromosome can be produced instead of two sets. If there are three sets, then it gives rise to new species, right? So that need not have any isolation or barrier, right? So if there is genetic change instead of two sets, if I have to give you an example, cultivated wheat that came from the hybridization and polyploid. So what you have today, previously it was part of different species, wild relatives, but it doesn't grow with it now. So sympatric speciation is the creation of new species from the common ancestor without geographical isolation, but driven by ecological, behavioral and genetic barriers. So it can also make sexual selection to whom to mate with. So that is behavioral. So the formation of species not because of isolation but because of genetics. But genetics means polyploidy. Polyploidy, there are two types of aberrations that you notice. One, like two types of numerical aberrations. One is aneuploidy and polyploidy. Aneuploidy means you have 46 chromosomes, one is missing or one is added, and you are adding individual chromosomes. Then you call aneuploidy. But polyploidy means complete set will be added. Complete 23 chromosomes set will be added, or 46 chromosomes, you have two sets. Now one more set will be added, or one set is removed. So in such cases we call it as polyploidy. So I hope you understood the difference between aneuploidy and polyploidy. Anyhow, 9.4 is completely about these things only. We are going to study in detail, but just for your understanding. Okay, so this speciation is resulted out of three different factors: ecological, behavioral and genetics. And what is quantum speciation? See, if I open the same PDF that we have read yesterday, you will never be clear with it. So that's why you need to understand it in detail, that okay, what are the factors? What factors are leading to the speciation? And here when we talk about genetics, it is polyploidy. When we talk about behavioral, that means it is sexual selection. Right? So that's there. And next, quantum speciation is nothing but quantum. Quantum, when we say quantum jump, what does it mean? No, not in terms of physics, general terminology. Quantum jumps. If you are aware, there is one book also for UPSC, Quantum Jump. So that's written by one of the senior aspirants. And I don't know whether they're continuing the publication. He is IAS officer only. Quantum jump means within short span you see a lot of changes. So rapid emergence of new species, often in small isolated population, through drastic genetic or chromosomal changes. See here, you see new species, but because of genetics, behavioral factors, and also ecological changes. But here, the drastic change and creation of new species from here, but only reason here it is genetics. So this can be observed in small isolated populations. So this is happening in a short span of time. This is noticed not in humans but commonly in plants due to polyploidy and hybridization, and often linked to founder effects also. Or what is founder effect? Right, that is founder effect. So now if you see there is small population, and from this if some are going and settling somewhere, they have genetic issue. We have learned that this is because of genetics only. So now there are genetics and the change if it continues, because in humans aberrations are very slow, but it's not the same with the plants. It happens within months, right? Plants grow very quickly, right? So the changes can be noticed there. So if the changes happen in this, it is because of the founder effect. So founder effect can also lead to such kind of speciation. Sympatric and adaptive radiation. Adaptive radiation is a overall broad concept, okay, which is talking about from one species, multiple species are evolved, and there is a specific mentioning that adaptation to particular environment. So there are different environments. Here there are multiple factors. You have genetics, you have behavioral, you have environment, ecological. So this is the difference that you notice. Clear? Right. So first, let us understand the basics. Different body parts you have to know before getting into the topics of 1.5 and 1.6, or else you will always feel confused and you feel the difficulty in learning the terminology. So our job here is to simplify. So be it from any background, you will be easily able to understand if you know the basics. If you know what is it called, automatically you will understand. There is no science over there. And the process is explained. It is very simple. Right. So you need to know that there are different parts of the skull. So if you see from the side, you have one part, and you can see the skull is clubbed with different bones. Okay, you can see the sutures here, lines that you can see, right? And this is the top view. From the top, if you are seeing, to the sides you have two bones, and to the back you have one, to the front you have one, to the side you have one, right? So now the side one, this part of that is called as temporal bone. Okay, temporal. See, by the end of all the things, you yourself will remember all of them. Don't bother about it. Just focus here completely. Don't note down anything. No need to note down anything. Just follow it properly. Within 15 minutes, you will be good to go with this terminology. Okay. So the side is temporal. The front part, simple, frontal. Front part is frontal. Back part is occipital. The back part is called as occipital. So front is back and the side temporal. And these are called as parietal. These two sideward bones are called as parietal. Sideward parts of the skull, sideward part of the bones are called as parietal. So this is frontal, you got to know, and this will come to it later. Where is parietal? Yeah, so it's not mentioned here or it will come later. So these are called as parietal. Okay, parietal, temporal, occipital. Then you have a part over here that is called as sphenoid. This is temporal and this is sphenoid. Sphenoid. You can see the spelling S-P-H-E. Sphenoid. Okay, so this is the small part just behind the eye. Okay, then this part of your nose is called as ethmoid. The blue color one you are seeing, right? The blue part, first observe here, name automatically you'll remember. But if you look at the spellings, all these things, you get lost with the names only and you don't know what exact part they are talking about. So understand here, this part is called as ethmoid. Okay, so ethmoid, see, nobody will ask you what is it, but when they use the terminology in the answers while showing the differences between humans and other animals, you'll get confused what they're talking about exactly. Right. These parts of the eyes are called as supraorbital ridges. Supraorbital ridges. Okay, so whatever the eyebrow part, you look at the bony like structure over here, those are called as supraorbital ridges. So then occipital, you already know, right? Occipital bone I already talked about. So there is a crest-like structure here you will be observing that is called as external occipital crest. So to the back of the head, the small division kind of thing you will observe here within the bone that is called as external occipital crest. You know crest and trough, right? Crest means rise and trough means fall, right? So here that rise is called as occipital crest. And this part where the vertebral column will enter and attaches to the skull is called as foramen magnum. Okay, foramen magnum. So these are called as condyles, occipital condyles. This protrusion is called as condyles. So don't need to remember those things, but I'll be telling you again, I'll make you revise all the things. So temporal you have understood. And coming to mastoid process. See, if you see the ear, behind that you see some protrusion right here behind the ear. That this is ear, and here you will be noticing some protrusion. That is called as mastoid process. Mastoid process. And You have mandibular fossa. So this you will understand later. Now you don't need it. So you can see this. This is known as maxilla. The frontal part is known as maxilla. These bones, right? And these bones are cheekbones are very large, right? In primates, you see cheekbones to be very large. Maxilla is very large. Okay, and this is called as zygomatic bone, the joint bone of maxilla. Okay, so it is joining maxilla and backside sphenoid and temporal bone. So this part is sphenoid and this side part is temporal and this is zygomatic bone. And the frontal part beside the nose is maxilla and this is mandible, right? I'll be repeating everything. Once we'll do all the things. Okay, this is mandible, you already know. And above the tongue, what you have is hard palate. Above the tongue in your mouth, it's not needed. Hyoid bone. So the bone that you see here is hyoid bone, which will help you in talking or the reason for the language. Because of this bone only today we are able to talk. Hyoid bone. You can see, right? See, just to explain, I have to watch multiple 3D videos and take the screenshots from there to show you in the better angle so that you understand clearly. So just focus, especially those who are engineers and from humanities background. Try to focus on your basics classes very well. Automatically things will be very familiar for you. Or else only these are the things that are making the subject difficult because you don't understand what is it and you'll never ever be able to relate. And alveolar process means, see, the teeth, if the teeth are removed, you see the spacing over there, right? So that is called as alveolar process, right? And this is mandible, right? And this is called as extension part. I told there are also occipital condyles we have seen. These extensions are also called as mandible condyles. Okay, then you have ramus. So in the mandible, so in the mandible itself, this blue color looking part is called as ramus. Alveolar process, you know it very well. Now come here. Frontal bone, parietal bone, sides parietal bone, occipital bone, maxilla, zygomatic bone. Beside that you have sphenoid. Then behind that you have temporal bone. So if you see here, frontal bone, sphenoid, temporal, ethmoid is within the nose, ethmoid bone, but joining the maxilla and these two, what is the bone you have? Zygomatic bone. Okay, you have maxilla in the front and connecting this maxilla you have the zygomatic bone. Zygomatic bone is the bone which extends from the eye connecting the temporal and the sphenoid. Okay, and it connects the maxilla in the front, right? That is the zygomatic bone. And you know this is the mastoid process, right? And this is mandible. So now you know all the parts of the skull. Parietal, occipital, superior. These are the different views. Okay. And anything that you feel you don't know here, these are the supraorbital ridges. The ridges you have here, eyes, supraorbital ridges. I hope you are clear with this terminology. Frontal, occipital, okay, and foramen magnum is where the vertebral column attaches to the skull. So that area is called as foramen magnum. Okay, so we're going to see that. I hope you're clear. Once you're clear, then it becomes little easy, and I'll be taking you to other parts of the body. So once it's done with the skull, right? Okay. So I hope it is clearly visible after zooming it out. Okay. Now coming to other parts of the body, if you look at it, you will understand that skull we have looked at. So this is also known as, this top part is known as cranium. Cranium means the part that will hold your brain and all other material, that is called as cranial. Frontal part is known as facial, right? So this is the cranial portion and this is the facial portion, right? So then you have a bone over here which you can feel, that is known as clavicle. Okay, so you are able to see here, right, the top bone which you touch and feel it. So that is clavicle, and back of it what you have, a bowl shaped kind of thing, that is called as scapula. Okay, so that's the triangle shape. So that is scapula, and this is the clavicle. Right now, these are the ribs, and the middle part is sternum. Okay, so between the ribs you have a bone that is known as sternum. And keeping this aside, come to the hands. Okay, comparison of hands and legs has to be done. In the hands, what do you have? Upper limbs. This part is called as humerus. This part is called as humerus. And then when you come to the lower hand, you feel that there is a bone here. But we don't understand that this bone is not attached completely. There is a gap between it. On one end you have one bone and other end you have other bone, and between you have the muscles. Okay, so when you look forward, the frontal one is called as, when you look forward, you need to understand this, is called as radius, and the back one is called as ulna. The front one is called as radius and the back one is called as ulna. Right? Here you have humerus, there you will be having femur. This is humerus and this long bone is called as femur. This we call as radius, front, back one, ulna. There fibia, tibula. Okay, so if you see, the front one is called as tibia and the back one is called as fibula. The small bone that you notice to the side, that is called as fibula. The front one, the strong bone that you notice is tibia. So now hands and legs. What is this? Humerus. Humerus, radius, ulna. Humerus, radius, ulna. The same humerus comparison here to the leg is femur. And Radius, ulna you have seen. Radius is the long one, strong part of the hand, bigger bone, and shorter one is ulna. Their stronger one is tibia, smaller one is fibula. Now hands and legs parts you are clear. So I'll repeat again, but once we should be clear with it, right? So now hands and legs are done. Now come to the hand part. So this limbs are done. Then come to the hand. So in the hand, what you have here at the joint, those are known as carpals. Okay, those are known as carpals. And this joint part, you have small bones attached. Those are called as carpals. And now, which is not visible to us, which is not visible to us, these are called as metacarpals. Okay, these are called as metacarpals. And the fingers that we have, those bones are called as phalanges. I'll make you learn all of them. Don't worry about it. Just first understand what is it. Then after that, I'll help you remember. So once you're done, it's good to go. Okay, so it's very simple. Okay, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. Same, you go to the leg. Tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. Simple. So legs and hands you should learn connecting to one another. So it's almost same, right? The structure sounds to be same, right? So almost all we have done, and there is one frontal part of our leg that is called as patella. That when you see on your knees, a plate kind of thing that you observe, right? That is called as patella, right? So now there is something known as pelvis. Okay, so this part, if you see at the center, from the vertebral column, the attachment is made to the pelvic bone, and the sides are called as pelvic girdles, and we'll be seeing in detail ilium, ischium. Those are the parts of the pelvis. So that we'll be looking at. But this is the pelvic bone. For now, you are clear. Now, without seeing, we'll try to do it. Okay. So then it will be much clear to you people. So now you look at what we have read. So if you see from the top view, if this is the skull, this is the frontal bone, this is front side. Here are your eyes. Okay, so this is front side. The front part is frontal bone. The back is occipital bone. This is frontal, and there are suchers like this. So what are these? Parietal bone, whatever. So it's clear, right? So you know the bones of the head. And where is the foramen magnum located? So this is the top view, right? When you look at the same reverse, you will be having a space like this. So it is not at the corner. So many of us think that it is attached at the end of the head. Not so. It is in the middle. Okay, we'll understand this difference in primates and humans, how it is attached. Okay, so this is foramen magnum. Now coming to facial part. So this part is called as, so these are the eyes. This part of the face, just beside the nose, maxilla. And this lower jaw is called as mandible. So now connecting maxilla to the side to the temporal bone, you have a bone known as zygomatic bone. Right, and here you have to the side you have temporal bone. Between temporal bone and the zygomatic bone, there is a bone known as sphenoid. So this part is called as sphenoid, and this is temporal bone. And the bone that you notice here, ethmoid, which is the nose. And you know that for the mandible, you have the mandible like this, right? So this part is known as ramus. What's your name? Pawan. Pawan, please come. See, take the things sportively. If somebody is asked to do something, we'll try to understand if there are gaps. And if there are gaps, we are here to help each other. Don't take it in negative sense. Most of the classes, people tend to see it negatively if some question is being asked or if they are not able to answer. There is nothing wrong in not knowing things. The only thing what we wish is you maintain your attention and be focused. That is all we expect from your end. Right? So nobody knows everything, because if you ask me also, I don't know many things in anthropology. It's common because your parents also might be, many of your parents might be teachers. You might have observed that everybody has to learn throughout the life. You have to keep learning. But one good thing, who is called good person? Good person is somebody who makes efforts to learn. That's it. So good teacher is defined if you are willing to learn and if you are adaptable to it. So don't take it negatively, just take sportively and just try to tell what all you have understood. Because I want you people to be clear. Okay. So tell me what are the parts. I'll just draw the parts. You just tell me the parts. This is the face, this is the nose, and here you have a bone. There is other bone here. There is one more bone here to the side. And there is sideward looking bone. Okay. So just tell me what are these parts. What are these parts? You can write. You can just, nothing wrong. Just identify which part is sphenoid. Which color is called sphenoid? Green. Green is called sphenoid. Right. So no, it's okay. You no need me not know the spelling or something. Okay, fine. Then what is that yellow color called? No, think like this is the top and this is the side. Temporal, correct. And what is the pink one called? What is it doing? It is joining two bones, the front bone and the side bones. So what is that called? No worries, relax. So okay, this is called as zygomatic bone. See, only thing when you try you'll remember, or else you'll never remember. So zygomatic bone. So this is joining your sidewards and the front one. What is this frontward part called? Front part called? Just beside the nose. Maxilla. Right. Good. So these are the things that you have to remember. Thank you. So see, I felt like he is new to these things, and if he can learn, that means everybody can learn. So I just want him to understand these things, and I think he is comfortable. So now you are clear, right? So this is maxilla. Again, we'll repeat maxilla. The front word beside the nose is maxilla. Whatever that is joining maxilla and the temporal bone is called zygomatic bone. Focus here. The whatever that is joining maxilla and temporal bone is called as zygomatic bone. Between the temporal and this is the temporal, and between the zygomatic and temporal you have sphenoid. right? Green is sphenoid, yellow is temporal, and pink is the zygomatic bone. And this is the maxilla, right? And we know that the lower part of the jaw is called as mandible and ramus. You are clear with it. And the teeth arrangement pattern that if you see, that is called as alveolar process. So when you remove the teeth and see the arrangement, that space is over there, that is called alveolar process. How the spaces are arranged. Okay. So this is the frontal view. You are clear. Now coming to the body parts. So coming to hands, you have division over here. What is this part called? This part is called as humerus. And coming to this part, the bigger bone that you notice is called as radius. The smaller one, ulna. And what is this called? The clavicle, the plain one. Okay, that you can touch on your shoulder. And what is the back part of the shoulder is called scapula. Clavicle, scapula, humerus, radius, ulna. What are these joints called as? Carpals. Carpals. And the things which are not visible are called as carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. See, fingers are called phalanges in both places, in the hands and in the legs also. Akshit, clear? Phalanges. Here it is carpals, metacarpals. In the legs it is tarsals and metatarsals. Right? The joints, if you observe here, joints, tarsals, and these are images. Okay, so tarsals and metatarsals, carpals and metacarpals, phalanges. Fingers are phalanges. So these parts you are clear. This you know, humerus, radius, backside one it is ulna, and when you come to leg, it is femur. Femur bone is very important because you know when somebody asked that to the anthropologist, to Margaret Mead, that when did we become human? There, then she highlighted that we have become human. There was a finding of help when the femur bone has broken, the joint has been made, and there was the help offered. So that was the sign. She says that the change has happened to humans. So that's where the humanity has developed. So femur bone becomes very important in the history. Okay, so femur bone is related to the leg, and you have the frontal part, so tibia, tibia, and back of the tibia you have fibula. Now, is there any difficulty in remembering these things? Right? Hardly. If you go home and once again look at this, then you'll be very comfortable with all the names. Right? So I think one last time, let me do it. Frontal, parietal, occipital, back is occipital, side is parietal on the top. On the top it is parietal, and here side is temporal. And the joining of maxilla, the front part is maxilla, joining of maxilla and temporal is zygomatic bone. Okay, and between the zygomatic bone and the temporal you have sphenoid. In the nose you have ethmoid. Okay, then you have mandible and ramus. Then coming to the body, you have clavicle, scapula, humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. When you go downward, you have vertebral column, then you have the pelvic bone, and below that you have the legs. Okay, then the leg bone, the topmost bone is called as femur. Then you have tibia, stronger one. Then you have fibula. Then you have tarsals, metatarsals, phalanges. Any difficulty? But when somebody shows you this diagram, what feeling do you develop? Is it possible to remember these names? It's all in the mindset. If you think it's possible, it's possible. But only thing is, you need to develop a pattern to connect things, then it's easy. If there is no pattern, if I randomly keep on telling the names, you'll obviously be confused. You won't get that connection. So there is a need for a pattern to learn things. Okay, you're clear, right? Shall we get into primatology? Online students, do you have any doubts? Please drop the comment so that if you have any doubts, I'll address it. No doubts? Okay, fine. So, primatology. So, what is primatology? So, it is a branch within physical anthropology which tends to study the behavior, okay, the primate behavior, the primate fossils, and the primate genetics, okay, and understand how we are related to it. We'll study socially, culturally, biologically, the primates also, and understand how we are connected to it and how we are related. And from there, we try to see, because we mirror ourselves to the primates, right? Many a times we think that we are from monkeys, right? And that is the reason why sometimes people refer others as monkeys, right? Because at their earliest and their thought process was not so fast as humans. So satirically, they tend to call people others as monkeys, right? So now you need to understand this. So there is one saying of Sherwood Washburn. The name of the scholar is, his quote is very good. It can be used for conclusions in the exams, but it's very much relevant for you to know it. So he says that the path to understand humans runs The path to understand humans runs through the forests of primates. So he meant to say that it is very important. It is very important for us to understand the primates if we have to understand ourselves. So he's a primatologist. So that's the reason why we are studying primates. So what is mentioned in our syllabus, slowly we'll get there. But you can see the kind of questions that is asked. Okay, so 1.5 last year we didn't see much questions, but you can see in the past. So we should not judge by 1 or 2 years. Rather, you should be knowing that the trend is important, not what is asked in last year. So they can ask anything. So be very clear that they have asked locomotion patterns and contribution of Jane Goodall and discuss the significance of bipedalism and then adaptive primate radiation. I told you, right? Adaptive radiation is mentioned in 1.4. Where they ask the question? 1.5. So it is interconnection. Only when you finish 1.4, 5, 6, then these topics can be better understood. Microevolution and macroevolution question also you'll notice in 1.4. That also you'll be able to answer when you first complete the reading of 1.456, and then micro and macroevolution makes more sense. Okay, so the questions comparative features of man and ape has been asked, then skeletal changes, skeletal differences, locomotion, adaptive radiation, same thing, right? You can see these are all the questions. Man's place in primate order, similarities and differences between chimpanzee and man, physical features of primates. This might sound difficult to you now, but once when you finish this chapter, I don't want to rush through it because I want to ensure that you are able to answer after that class. See, there are two things. I finish and I put the onus on you. You go and do everything. But I want to make sure that you people learn here itself. For physical anthropology. For social, it is all understood. Only I have to explain the concept. The rest efforts can be from your side. For socio-cultural anthropology, others. But physical anthropology, here, if you don't learn, after going home, it becomes very difficult to learn these things. And that mistake has happened with us, and I don't want it to happen with people. So this we have seen, right? Actually, there is some problem with the image, but just to tell you, the origin of primates happened in the Paleocene era. So PEOM, Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, and Miocene. Right? You have these, and Miocene enters the Neogene era, and see, this is the period, era, and epoch. Paleocene epoch, Eocene epoch, Oligocene epoch, then Miocene epoch, then you have Pliocene, Pleistocene, and then Holocene. Okay, so then we have megalithic age also now. Megalithic new thing has been introduced, but you just need to know because these all things you learn in your geography also. When the dinosaurs have evolved, Jurassic, you can see the time period. Mesozoic era, you have the Jurassic period, so during which you notice the dinosaurs and diverse things are abundant. Then Cretaceous, that was a period when placental mammals have evolved, and later on you notice the early primates have come. How many mass extinctions happened so far? See, this is just for your basic understanding. It's not part of the syllabus, so don't think that like if you are not able to remember the names or something, there is some problem. There is no problem at all. But broader understanding, if you have to tell somebody what has happened properly, if somebody asks you something in general also, you should be able to answer it, right? How many mass extinctions happened so far? Not 6? Are you going to witness the 6th one? That's what the IPCC reports say, right? So 5 mass extinctions happened so far. and the sixth one is happening so fastly that species are disappearing at rapid pace. So five happened. So you can see one, two, three, four, five, and sixth one did not come yet. Hopefully soon. Okay. So this is classification of mammals. Later on, you can go and watch it. This should be your basic thing. So you need not remember anything. That primates are part of mammals. That's what you have to remember. Okay. So that understanding, if you have, it is fine. Then definition of primates. See, it is very difficult to define primates. See, these are also mammals, and in the mammals you have multiple things. Okay, but how are you differentiating? What are you doing? You are classifying. How are you classifying based on certain characteristics? You will say vertebrates, invertebrates. Why you are classifying it? Because in them you don't see vertebral column, right? Here you notice vertebral column. Based on that, you are classifying it. Vertebrates, invertebrates, right? So in a similar manner, now you see some features which are very different from others. That is the reason you are putting it in under a different bracket. So that's where the primates classification has come. And now if you see, various attempts have been made, but it was very difficult. And two classifications or two definitions of Lee Gross Clark and other is Mivart. These two people's definitions are generally accepted. Again, the definition of primates itself becomes challenging for students to remember. Okay, so this also you have to learn here itself. In order to define, Mivart in 1873 he has defined it. First, ungulate. This might sound like difficult word, but if you do it for two times or three times, it is again ungulate means instead of claws you have nails. Ungulate means nails instead of claws. You see claws, right? Instead of claws, in primates you don't see claws, you have nails. So that is ungulate. Then claviculate. What does claviculate mean? Claviculate means having a clavicle, right? Then placental mammals. So placenta, within the embryo part. So before taking birth, with the connection, umbilical cord connects to the mother, right? There is a part known as placenta which connects to the child. Between the mother and the child, within the embryo, there is a part known as placenta, right? That is placental mammals. So in humans also we have it, and there also they have. And then with orbits encircled by the bone, orbits, orbits encircled by the bone. You have eye orbit, right? So that is encircled by the bone. And next, three kinds of teeth. We have four kinds: incisors, canines, premolars, molars. Incisors are the frontal teeth. To the sides, you have the sharper ones. Those are known as canines. And before the end teeth, before your last teeth, you have some teeth in between. Those are called as premolars. And the larger ones at the end are called as molars. These are the four teeth. And what they define is if something has to become a primate, at least in their lifetime, once they should have three kinds of teeth. And then you have brain, always with a posterior lobe. Brain always with the posterior. What is posterior? What is anterior? Not, it is not related to posture. I thought you people are sharply observing things. Till now I have shown you the diagram, right? Are you looking about it? I'm looking here. Anterior means frontal view. Posterior means backward. So, what is the definition talking about? It is saying that brain always with a posterior lobe. So, brain is at the back with a posterior lobe. Backside you have a lobe kind of structure, a curved kind of thing. Then you have calcarine fissure. What is calcarine fissure? Within the stomach you have a sac-like structure where these rabbits and certain mammals, like whatever the herbs they eat, what do you call it? This cellulose is digested within the calcarine fissure. Okay, so for humans we don't have it. So that is the sac-like structure that is there within the stomach is known as calcarine fissure. The innermost digit of at least one pair of extremities is opposite. What are extremities? Extremities means your phalanges, both at the heads, both limbs. You have front limbs and the back limbs, generally in the primates, and we call it as hands and legs in us. So at least one pair of extremity should have a opposable digit. Okay, so what does it mean? The innermost digit of at least one pair of extremities is opposable. That means innermost, either your toe should be opposable or your thumb should be opposable. What do you mean by opposable? If you are able to touch rest of the fingers using one, then that is called as opposable. And there is one word known as prehensile. Prehensile means if you can hold. So the grip is called as prehensile. Right? So what is opposable? If the finger, one of your innermost digit, can touch all other. So in primates you don't notice this. Right? Generally the thumb is very small, it cannot touch. But it is prehensile, it can hold. Clear? So what is it saying? Posterior means front, back, posterior means back, anterior means front. It is not top. Posterior doesn't mean top. So if you see, somebody is asking whether posterior means top, it's not top. Posterior means it's backward. Okay, frontal view, backward. In the back, there is a lobe where the brain stays. Okay, brain is placed. So then you have hallux with a flat nail or none. Hallux is nothing but toe part. Toe. Toe is known as hallux there, and either it is flat, it is having a flat nail, or it may not have. And then you have penis pendulus. Okay, penis is pendulus, means hanging, and you have testis crotals. Testis crotal means it is testes are stored in a sac-like structure, bag-like structure, that is testis crotal, and then always two pectoral mammae. Pectoral mammae means forward facing chest, mammarian glands are forward facing. Okay, so the chest part. So now, if you have to remember this, it gets very difficult. All these things, how to remember. Now let's make it simple. What is it saying? Instead of claws, you have nails, what we call unguiculate. Then you have a clavicle. And what is it saying? At least at one point of time, you should be having three types of teeth together. And your eyes should be circled by a bone-like structure. Right? Then you have calcarean fissure where the things are digested, cellulose is digested, right? Calcarean fissure is there. You go from top to bottom and you notice pectoral mammae, glands, and penis pendulus and testis crotal. What all parts did you? And they say that one of the extremities, at least innermost digit, should be opposable. Hallux should be having a nail or none. Either it can be having a nail or none. These are the parts you have read. Right? Once again, can you repeat? First, it should have instead of claws, it is having nails. Unguiculate. Then claviculate. Then eyes are circled by bone. Okay. Then after that, three types of teeth at least one time of the life. Then after that, brain should be having a posterior lobe, right? So then calcarean fissure, right? And then you have what? At least one innermost digit should be opposable, and then you have hallux. Either it should be having the nail or none. Okay, and then you have testis, penis, and the pectoral mammary. So things. These are all the things that differentiate primates from others. So based on these characteristics, you are defining primates, and if these are present, then you can clearly understand that this is a primate and different from other mammals, other vertebrate mammals. Getting what is the definition of primate? Right. So it's simple, just from top to bottom, think about all the things that he has said. So with respect to brain, he has said posterior lobe, eyes, he said it should be circular. Okay, and with respect to teeth, he said three should be there at least once. And then you come to clavicle. Then after that you have stomach. Okay, stomach you have calcarean fissure. And coming to hands, the nails should be there instead of claws, and one innermost digit should be opposable. And coming to other parts, like your pectoral mammary, and you have testis and what do you call penis, and then you go to the legs. What do you have? Hallux. Should be having nail or none. Right? Definition is simple. Only when you know parts of the body, or else it gets difficult. Right? Hallux means two. Rakshit, can you tell me what are the different characteristics of primate? Okay, nails. Yeah, it's bony circular arrangement for the orbits. One of the innermost digits should be opposable. Scrotum. Calcarean fissure. Calcarean fissure is within the stomach. And next, clavicle. And within the head, what did he talk about? Posterior lobe for the brain. And with respect to teeth, what did he say? So go from top to bottom, see each body part and think what he has said, then you will come to the answer. Right? So the characteristics are also same said by the Lee Gross Clark as well. We have seen Mivot. If you see the Clark also, he talks about the same thing. The four-limb structure of the primates exhibit presence of clavicle bone, two separate bones in the arms, radius and ulna, pentadactylism, that means 5 fingers, and there is a presence of opposable thumb and the friction on the palm, so that they can hold the branches. Friction is there. So we also have friction, right? We also have friction, and which helps in the grasping and maintaining grip. Then nose. Okay, so nose becomes smaller in the primates, because here primates don't depend on the smell. Their eyes got developed well and they have stereoscopic vision. So because of that, nose size, when you don't depend on the nose, automatically the size reduces, right? So the nose is less in size, hence olfactory regions of the brain have been reduced and thus snout becomes smaller. The snout, this was the snout. In dog, you notice the snout, right? The snout became smaller because your dependence reduced and the olfactory regions, that means the smell regions within the brain, have become smaller. And now you see vision. The eyes are highly developed and the most primates can see color vision, and it is three-dimensional in nature, and both terrestrial and arboreal, there is 3D development of stereoscopic vision. So when nose reduced, their dependence on the vision has increased. Previously, they used to find out things through the smell, but now they have started depending upon the vision. Then coming to face, the snout has reduced, you know it, right? Then when snout is reduced, you can notice the facial expressions. When there is snout, can you notice the facial expression? No, right. And now dentition, you know that in primates the teeth reduced to 32. Teeth are smaller and simple in structure, and reproduction process, they evolved into more efficient form of reproduction. So they have placenta, uterus in primates also. The same thing, whatever he has said, he's talking in different way altogether. Then the brain, the size of the brain increased, which led to the larger intelligence compared to the earlier ones. So Lee Gross Clark has given different characteristics to different primates, and whereas Mibot has given different definition or the characteristics to different primates. So this is with respect to primates classification, not classification, primate characteristics. Then we have to learn classification. Okay. So today we are not going to learn much because already it is too much of information for you. So classification I'll take, then after we'll stop, or else it's going to be too many things to remember for you. But whatever you do, you should complete in the class itself. Now you go home and become perfect with what is done, and tomorrow we'll learn other things and be perfect. It should not be like again you go and spend some another 1 month to learn the same things. Now you have understood this, right? Lee Gross Clark and Mibot, they are trying to explain the characteristics. Whatever the characteristics Mibot has said, in different way he told in details. Okay, so Clark has said it in detail, right? Then we'll go to primate classification. So first, primate classification happens based on the nose. So now you have primates. You said that these are other vertebrate mammals, and these are the primates. How did you differentiate? You said, okay, whether they have posterior lobe, teeth, 3 teeth, one set lifetime together, hallux, and we'll see the other parts, clavicle, calcarean fissure, all these things we observed and we said, okay, these are other set of groups. And now within the group again we are making further classification. So we'll see whether there is wet nose or dry nose. Wet nose are known as strepsirrhini, or moist nose are known as strepsirrhini. Rhini means nose. Strepsi, wet. Haplorhini. Haplo means dry. So the primates with dry nose are called as haplorhini. Rhini means nose. Remember, rhini means nose. Rhinarium, we talk about it, right? So rhini means nose, and strepsi means wet or moist. Haplo means dry. Okay, so just focus. Now within this strepsirrhini, you divide it into two. Further, you have lemurs, lorises fall under the strepsirrhini. Lemurs and lorises. Lemurs and lorises, those pictures I'll show you. You can also go and search today. Today you don't have much job to do. 10-15 minutes, you quickly watch the video again. Just note down all the terminology and try to go through it. So that once you become familiar, all the chapters become easy in the next go in physical anthropology. Okay, so then classification, moist nose, dry nose, and then you have lemurs, lorises. Then you have tarsiers and simiforms. See, basically, primates are classified into two, which I didn't mention. Prosimians, simians. Okay, so what do you mean by prosimians? Simian, have you ever heard of this word? Like, because when you refer to monkey, what do you call them? Within the, I told you, right, why people use this word monkey, because their cognitive abilities are not same as human. They did not have that intellect, right? In the similar way, when you do prosimian simians, so wherever the intellect is more, the cognitive abilities are more, that are placed under the simians, and the lesser cognitive ability are called as prosimians, right? So in the prosimians, you have these three: lemurs, lorises, and tarsiers. So lemuriforms, lorisiform, because you know, if you see, this is the classification: suborder, infraorder, para-order, superfamily, family, subfamily, common names, distribution. Distribution is aside, but family, subfamily. This is division. You need not get into that detail, but for your classification, I am providing. So, strepsirrhini, haplorrhini. How you are dividing? Based on nose, right? But based on intellect, if you are dividing, then it will be prosimians and simians are also known as anthropoids. Okay. So, I'll in the next picture, yeah, you can see here. Strepsirrhini, haplorrhini, and the prosimians or simians are anthropoids. Anthropoids, okay, anthropoids include all this: New World monkeys, Old World monkeys, apes, and humans. And tarsiers fall under haplorhini, but they fall under prosimians. Okay. First, you have primates. You are dividing it based on two things. One, based on nose you are dividing. Then you are getting strepsirrhini. That means strepsirrhini, haplorhini. Haplorhini. So within strepsirrhini, you have lemuriforms, lorsiforms. Lemurs and lorsiers are the two primates that you see under this. And under dry noses, you have tarsiforms and what do you notice here? Simiforms or anthropoids. Okay, so you are including both tarsiforms and anthropoids. Simiforms or simians, which we were telling, prosimians and simians. So, anthropoids or simiforms. Tarsiforms and anthropoids, these are included here. Okay, so when you want to classify, so this is tarsiforms. Okay, now what you are doing, you are trying to classify based on cognitive abilities. First, you have classified based on the nose, wet or dry. Now, on the basis of cognitive abilities, when you are classifying, then these are called as prosimians. These are called as anthropoids or simiforms. So within anthropoids, who all do you have? New World monkeys, Old World monkeys, and apes and humans. So you can come here. New World, Old World, apes and humans. In the New World, you have Seboidea, and Old World you have Sarcopithecodea, and apes and humans you call it as Hominoidea. Okay. Dia means it falls under the super family. De means it is under family. Dia means super. De means family. So we are talking about super family here. Seboidea, Sarcopithecodea, and Hominoidea. So we are talking about the super family. So now let's move here. You have Seboidea, right? And Sarcopithecodea. Seboidea falls under New World monkeys. Okay, New World monkeys, Seboidea. And Old World monkeys, you have Sarcopithecodea and the Hominoid. So here under Catirae. So now you need to understand here the further classification happens from the anthropoids. Okay, so till here you should be clear. See this classification, it took me 2 months to read when I was a student. Never ever I used to understand this. In one place they will say they are included under Strepsirrhini, in one place they'll say it is included under the prosimians. Why these inclusions are different? What are they? So this there is a lot of confusion. But at least for you, if it takes 2-3 days also, it's fine. But it should not take that much of time. Okay. Now you need to understand here. First, based on nose, they have done Strepsirrhini, Haplorhini, moist and dry. You have lemurs, lorises, and Haplorhini is tarsiers and anthropoids. So now, when they divided based on the cognitive abilities, tarsiers also fall under prosimians because cognitive abilities of these all are less, and here they are more. And within the anthropoids, you have further division: old world, new world, and so these are all anthropoids. Then you have within anthropoids old world monkeys, new world monkeys. Okay, then great apes and humans. So old world are called as Sarcopithecodium. New world are called as Sebioid. Don't get confused. New world are called as Sebioid. So Sebidae, it is there, right? So if you see here, New World is called as Sebioid. I wrote reverse there just to make sure that this confusion happens here itself and you don't get confused. New World is Sebioidea. Old World is Sarcopithecodea. And then apes and humans and hominoidea. And here, why the classification is done between the New World and Old World? It is based on nostrils arrangement. Here you have two words, Platyrrhini and Catarrhini. You have Platyrrhini and you have Catarrhini. Platyrrhini means sideward facing nostrils. Your nostrils are facing sideward. Catarrhini means downward facing nostrils. Our nostrils are facing downward, but we are not put under it. Under monkeys we are not included, but we are included under apes and humans. So we come under Catarrhini superfamily only. Sorry, Catarrhini suborder. So you have anthropoids. This anthropoids division is happening based on two things. These are Platyrrhini and these are Catarrhini. Platyrrhini means sideward facing nostrils and Catarrhini means downward facing nostrils. Classification, is it getting clear? We'll do it again after this, but let's finish this. So old world monkeys, sorry, this is new world. Just to confuse I wrote. And this is new world and this is old world. New world is Seboidea, Sarcopithecodea, and this is Hominoidea. Okay, so that is a super family they belong to. Okay, and here you have further, if you can see Seboidea, then you have other marmosets. These are the examples that you have for it, and you can remember them. And Sarcopithecodea, you have other examples. And coming to what's most important, in old world monkeys, you have monkeys. And coming to Hominoidea, which is part of apes and humans, which is further divided into Hylobatidae and Hominidae. So Hylobatidae means lesser apes and Hominidae means greater apes and humans. So lesser apes, gibbons, siamongs, you will be noticing this. And Hominidae consists of greater apes and humans, that is gorilla, orangutans, chimpanzees, and then you have homininae, humans. So to make it clear, Hylobatidae means lesser apes, then you have hominidae, apes and humans. Okay, within the apes and humans, within the great apes and humans also you have classification. Chimpanzees are very close to us, that's why chimpanzees, bonobos are studied more. Okay, you will see Jane Goodall, I'll be showing you 3 people now. Those are very, very important people that you have to look at. So chimpanzees and bonobos are close to us, that's why they are placed under hominidae. Whereas Pongine and Gorilline, that means orangutans and gorillas, are kept separate. Okay, so see, it's not so easy to learn on the first day, but I'm trying as much as possible to complete on first day itself. But tomorrow we'll repeat again so that you know it. But the names of these examples you have to remember. Okay, so just go home and try to observe the different examples of each type. Search the Google, see their faces, understand their body posture. Okay, I'll suggest that tomorrow you watch video of chimpanzees, orangutans, and all the larsiers, tarsiers. You watch their videos and how their movements are happening. You'll notice that they'll be doing the circus, right? So you observe how the movement, how they're walking, how they're running, how they're jumping, because we'll be learning these locomotion patterns tomorrow, right? So that when you learn, you'll understand. If you see, you'll be able to relate it. Okay, this movement is because of this change in the structure of the hand or the part of the body. Okay, observe it as a part of your videos. Okay, and then we have humans at the end. So for simple classification, you can go for this. You have Seboidea, Sarcopithecodea, apes and humans, and within the apes and hominoidea, you have hominini. Hominine means chimpanzees, bonobos, and humans. And you have Pongine, okay, and see, Hylobatidae is overall division, but if you see Pongine and Gorilline. Pongine means orangutans, Gorilline means gorillas, and Hominine means chimpanzees, bonobos, and humans. Right. So again, for your understanding, let's divide. You have primates. They are divided based on the nose, wet or dry, that is moist or dry. So Strepsirrhini is moist. So Haplorhini is dry. So they have divided it into tarsiers and simiforms or anthropoid. And these are lemuriforms and lorsiforms. Now, what they have done after this, they went for cognitive abilities. Based on the cognitive abilities, they have divided. So that gave rise to prosimians and simians or anthropoids. Within the anthropoids, you have further division. Okay, Platyrrhini and Catarrhini. So you will observe here that who are having sideward nosing nostrils are called as Platyrrhini. So Platyrrhini, Catarrhini. In the Platyrrhini, you have New World monkeys. Okay, here you have Old World monkeys and apes and humans. In the New World monkeys, you have Seboidea, here you have Sarcopithecodea, and here you have Hominoidea. And these are further divided. These apes are divided into lesser apes, greater apes, and humans. So what are they called? You can see here, these are further divided into lesser apes and greater apes and humans. Hylobatidae, what they wrote there, Hylobatidae means you have this gibbon, siamang. So those are called as Hylobatidae. So this lesser apes are called as Hylobatidae, and what are greater apes called as? Hominidae. Hylobatidae and Hominidae, right? And this Hominidae is further divided into Homininae. These you have Pongininae means orangutans, Gorilline means gorillas, and this is the Homininae means you have two chimpanzees and bonobos, and you have humans. This is what this entire classification is. Just go, watch the class again, try to do it yourself twice. Third time you will be comfortable. I think till here you're comfortable. New world, old world, apes and humans. And after this, apes, you have lesser apes, greater apes. Lesser apes are called as Hylobatidae. You know the examples. Then greater apes and humans are called as Hominidae. So these are further divided into Ponginae, Gorillinae, and Homininae. Homininae consists of two things. Ponginae means orangutans, Gorillinae means gorillas. Since chimpanzees are closer, bonobos are more closer. Okay, so chimpanzees are considered the closest ancestors of human. Alright, so this is the classification. So with this, we'll stop here. Enough of the information. Tomorrow we'll continue further and we'll be studying other features. Others are simple, but once still here, if you are understood, they'll ask you the classification or man's position. What was the question that was there? Man's place in primate order. Now you know man's place in primate order. Is it difficult to tell? Simple. Strepsirrhini, haplorhini. So within the haplorhini, within the rhinoceros, you have further, okay, tarsiers and anthropoids. Within the anthropoids, you have New World, Old World, and great apes and humans. So New World, it is Sebioidea, and Old World, Sarcopithecodea, and you have apes and humans. Within the apes and humans, then you have lesser apes, greater apes and humans. Lesser apes are called as Hylobatidae, and greater apes and humans are called Hominidae. And Hominidae is further classified into Gorillinae, Ponginae, and then Homininae. In Homininae, you have chimpanzees and bonobos and humans. Simple. It is possible to read, understand, and remember. Okay, so it is not factual thing. There is basis for this division, and that if you know, you will be clear. So, or else if you just remember the names, you won't get it clear because you don't know on what basis the division is. Okay. If you have any doubts online, please ask. Offline, no doubts. Akshit, any doubt? Pavan? Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you. And I have uploaded the 1.4 PDF. Don't ask for PPTs. PPTs won't be shared. And the 1.5 PDF also will be shared. You can watch it. But today I want you to go through the class. Put your pen and paper. Don't use PDFs to read. Only when you are going for notes, then you use PDFs. But when you are learning things, watch the class and try to do it on your own. Today, you don't have any question. But if at all the question is man's place in primate order can be the question. But this is asked in 1994. In the recent times, they did not ask. But if they want to make the paper difficult, they can ask it. It is just a small question, right? They have to put 4 words. All the effort is on you, right? So they might ask, but try writing it. Man's place in primates order. Sorry, man's place in primate order. That's all for today. We read extended evolutionary synthesis, incorporated effect of environment, which was not included in synthetic theory. But natural selection of Darwin includes the role of environment. See, Darwin's natural selection is completely invisible factor, which you are talking about. That is playing a role. What you have asked, I am just clarifying. There is a doubt. The doubt is that extended evolutionary synthesis we have read, and there we have said that environment also plays a role, which is not included in the synthetic theory. But he is saying that environment is included in Darwin's theory. So that inclusion of environment and this inclusion of environment is different. Here, what they are talking about, synthetic theory, what is it talking? It is talking about the variation of the Gene. They're talking about the variation of the gene. In the variation of the gene, they did not consider environmental factor. So that is the extended evolutionary synthesis, which says that in the variation of the gene, there is a role of environment also. Darwin's theory of natural selection comes into play after the variation. First, he'll say variation is created, then on that environment will act, not in the creation of variation. So that is the difference. I hope you are clear with it. Last level of classification, they just want me to repeat. See, this is the hominidae, great apes and humans. So great apes you have three. Okay, orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzees. So orangutans are pongininae, gorillas are gorillinae, and then you have homininae. In that you have chimpanzees and bonobos and humans. This is the last stage of classification. I think you are clear, Lalit. So if you have any doubts, you can reach out. We'll try to help it. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you, everyone.